Our audience is probably last week just under 1 million. The week before, over 1 million. And we are determined to keep it that way because that makes us, by far and away, the biggest political show in the media in the entire world. And you deserve the fare you've got in front of you tonight. We'll be talking to the foremost American economist and political analyst, Professor Richard D. Wolff in New York City. And we'll be talking to our own Moats medic, Dr. Ranjit Brar, who's talked us through the coronavirus pandemic right from the very beginning. He's a man with an interest also in China, and it's China that we'll talk about first with Tom McGregor in Beijing. I don't know what time it is there. I have a feeling it's very early in the morning, in which case we're very grateful to him. And the proximate reason for that, of course, is the decision by the British government to kowtow low to the most controversial president in the United States political history, who might actually even be out of office before the order to ban Huawei, before the ink on that order is even dry. The British government earlier in the year decided to keep Huawei in the 5G rollout. But now they say, citing security concerns, that they can no longer do so, and have, in fact, therefore, ignited a trade war with China. Just as we are looking over the abyss after the coronavirus into actual economic collapse. Just after we have fallen out with 27 countries in the European Union who were our biggest market, the British government has now added China to Russia and the 27 members of the EU as people were either on non-speaking terms with or sending gunboats to their maritime perimeter. I'm not making that up. We have dispatched our only aircraft carrier to the waters around China. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the last time we dispatched a gunboat up the Yangtze was in 1949, and the Chinese Navy promptly sunk it and called it the Yangtze Incident. And it caused a lot of trouble here in Britain. We weren't used to whippersnappers like the young Chinese People's Republic sinking our gunboats. But of course, China has come a long way since 1949. So has Britain, but in the opposite direction. And so dispatching a warship called after Her Majesty to China is a decidedly risky enterprise. And we better hope that nothing goes wrong. When we get there, of course, we'll be joining a veritable fleet of American warships with strategic bombers from the United States Air Force flying overhead. As I say, what could possibly go wrong with all of this? In the middle of a trade war, in the middle of a propaganda offensive of unprecedented ferocity, we're actually sending military assets into harm's way. And for what? Well, I can think of only one reason, because Donald Trump wants us to. And the only reason Donald Trump has gone on the warpath with China is to divert attention from the Democratic Party's attack on him as a Russian agent, as a Manchurian candidate. How crazy is it that the richest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world, is actually confronting two nuclear-armed superpowers only for the reason that the other party is targeting a different nuclear-armed superpower? Joe Biden, in the basement tapes, still sleepy, still creepy, is pumping out, would be the wrong word, squeaking out his anti-Russian propaganda on a daily basis. So Trump has gone on the warpath against Beijing, whatever the cost to the ailing US economy. And of course, that ailing economy is what we will be talking about later. But what about the British economy? Can we afford to be making all these enemies? China, a country of 1.4 billion people, might have been a tasty market. Certainly that's what David Cameron and George Osborne believed it would be when they launched what they called the golden era of British-Chinese relations, now in absolute ruin. China is going to retaliate, and I think fearsomely, against the British economy as a result of this slap in the face over Huawei. But is it deserved? We're asking in our poll, why did Britain cancel the Huawei 5G deal? Was it A, security concerns, or was it B, political machinations? It has to be B, really, because if China was a threat to our national security through Huawei on 5G, we wouldn't be allowing them still to operate on 4G. We wouldn't be allowing them still to operate on 3G. We wouldn't be allowing them to operate our trains. And we wouldn't be allowing them to operate our nuclear power stations. So it's safe to let China operate our nuclear power stations, but it's not safe to let them platform Baby Bus and Peppa Pig or whatever else you watch on your 5G mobile telephone. When you put it like that, it just seems utterly ridiculous, does it not? And if China was a threat to our national security through 5G, well, we'd be banning them now, wouldn't we? Not in 2027, when I promise you 5G will be very last year.